You can call me Mystic Mike because I predict these things.
The meathead, Michael Chandler. Michael, the cheater, Chandler. Michael, the motivational speaker, Chandler, takes on Paddy, the Paddy Pimblett, this Saturday as the co-main event of UFC 314. And this is a really fun fight. I think this is going to be really entertaining. Both these guys, very exciting fighters. Paddy Pimblett on an absolute roll right now. Michael Chandler, not so much. Not the most impressive resume as of late. 2 wins in the UFC in 4 years. So I'm trying to make this prediction video, but I feel like it's going to be more of a Michael Chandler bashing session. But either way, we're going to get through it. So Paddy Pimblett continually taking steps up in competition, coming off of a win over King Green. Very impressive win. First round triangle choke over him. Beat Tony Ferguson, Jared Gordon, Jordan Levitt, Rodrigo Vargas. So decent wins. He's looked good in the octagon. Been in trouble a few times earlier in his UFC career, but looked really good as of late. Really coming into his own, building into his frame. 22-3, so on an absolute tear right now. Hasn't lost since 2019. Michael Chandler, on the other hand, not on a tear. Coming in off of a loss to Charles Oliveira where he just cheated the entire fight. Back of the head shots, multiple back of the head shots. I was screaming at the TV. The ref was doing nothing. Was about to lose my mind. Lost to Dustin Poirier before that. Cheated in that fight as well. I've got a video, one of my first videos I did on this channel, about how big of a dirtbag Michael Chandler is, but tries to come off as this nice father figure, motivational speaker type guy. It's annoying, but beat Tony Ferguson. Who else hasn't beat Tony Ferguson? Lost to Justin Gaethje in a very entertaining fight. Lost to Charles Oliveira. Kind of fumbled that loss and beat Dan Hooker in his UFC debut. Dan Hooker, I think, took that on short notice, so probably would have lost if he didn't. I got to go with Paddy Pimblett in this one, and I'm not just doing this with my heart out of pure disdain for Michael Chandler. I do think Paddy Pimblett's the better fighter. I'm going with Paddy Pimblett because he actually tries to win fights. He doesn't just want to be entertaining, and that's all that Michael Chandler does. He wants to make low IQ, boneheaded moves because he thinks it looks cool, as opposed to making the right decisions to win a fight. Winning fights is also cool. Getting your show and win money, also very cool. Doing stupid things to entertain the crowd, where at times is fun and entertaining, gets old and stale when that's all you've done for the last 4 years. So I'm going to go with Paddy Pimblett. Better on the ground. Much better on the ground. I get it. Michael Chandler, D1 wrestler at Mizzou. I know guys who personally trained with him there. They speak very highly of him. Very, very athletic. Very tough dude, and you can tell that the guy is tough. There is no quit in him. He had a really good career at Bellator, where he was having a lot of success over there before he made the jump to the UFC. Really kind of helped build Bellator, in all honesty. I'll give him a little bit of credit. Had a lot of really good fights with Eddie Alvarez, Patricio Pitbull, so I'll give credit where credit's due. So he probably will be the better wrestler, given his D1 credentials, but Paddy Pimblett's just very good on the ground. He's been a jiu-jitsu black belt for years now. Proven ability to get guys to the ground and sub them. And we haven't really seen that from Michael Chandler. We've seen him get takedowns, but he can't really maintain top position. He's shown that he can be submitted on the ground. He was submitted by Dustin Poirier. So I think Paddy Pimblett has the edge there. I don't see Michael Chandler being able to take him down and holding him there. I can see him maybe getting him to the ground, landing some punches, not threatening with submissions by any means. And I see Paddy being able to get back up to his feet or threatening with submissions and finishing him there. So I'm not concerned about that. I am concerned about on the feet, because Michael Chandler can cover a lot of ground really quickly. You'll see that with wrestlers, just that explosion that they have. They have that ability to lunge in and wing punches, and he's got tons of power. Don't get me wrong. He's got a lot of power. He's got a really good chin. He's been taking beatings from guys at 155 for years now. So I think that's where Paddy has to worry the most, is on the feet. But I do think that he's going to be the longer, rangier guy. He's 5'10 with a 73-inch reach against 5'8", 71.5-inch reach. So he's going to have a 1.5-inch reach advantage. And I think he's just the more technical fighter on the feet. I think he'll be able to catch Michael Chandler and not get hurt himself. I think he'll be able to push forward against Michael Chandler and really crowd him and make him uncomfortable and put a lot of pressure on him, and maybe even shoot takedowns of his own. Because if you get Michael Chandler on his back, he is primarily a wrestler. Those guys usually don't tend to, train off of their back, sweeps, triangles, things like that, like very rudimentary understandings of it, but they want to keep it on the feet. They want to sprawl and brawl. He's very much like Justin Gaethje, who if you get him on his back, he's, he doesn't really have any jiu-jitsu there. He's really just trying to get back up to his feet and can sometimes give away position while doing so. We have seen Michael Chandler be in really bad positions against Charles Oliveira, though, and he was able to stay safe, which is, huge kudos to him. Big feather in his cap not to get finished by somebody like Charles Oliveira. But I do think Paddy Pimblett can get him into those positions and potentially get the finish, or just win position and beat him up while he's there. Paddy Pimblett will be the younger fighter. He's 30 years old, barely into his prime. You can tell he's really filled out his frame. If you saw him back in his Cage Warrior days, he was kind of like Gumby. He was just kind of doughy, not really muscled up. Now the dude's huge for 155. And I could see him moving up at some point in time. But he's much bigger than he used to be, very strong. And he's going to be younger and quicker than Michael Chandler at this point in his career. He's 38, doesn't have any momentum on his side. Coming off of 2 losses, his last win was over Tony Ferguson almost 3 years ago. And Tony Ferguson was hurting him in that fight, rocked him in that fight before he caught him with that front kick. On the other hand, he is fighting the elite of the elite. Justin Gaethje, Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier. I wouldn't put Dan Hooker up there as elite, but that's murderer's row at 155. Those guys refuse to get knocked out of the top of the division, regardless of who comes their way. And Michael Chandler could have won some of those fights. If he played it a little smarter, he could have won those fights. If he wouldn't have been sloppy with his takedowns, he could have won round 3 against Dustin Poirier. If he wouldn't have rushed it against Oliveira, he could have, very well been champ. The last fight of Charles Oliveira, he was just outclassed. He was beat, pillar to post for the most part, other than that one round where he landed an ridiculous amount of back of the head shots to Charles Oliveira and still couldn't put him out. I think Paddy Pimblett is on another level compared to Michael Chandler in terms of his fight IQ, his well-roundedness, his momentum, his mindset. That dude is on a mission for the title. And there's been times where I've been doubtful of him, but at the end of the day, he finds a way to win. He was rocked and hurt in his fight against Luigi Vendramini, ended up getting the knockout. Has constantly been taking steps up in competition and has either got the finish or won unanimous decisions. Beating Bobby Green the way that he did in the first round is just very impressive. The way that Bobby Green, who's got pretty good wrestling, the way he shot in was just immediately choked out. Like, I can see Paddy Pimblett catching him in something like that. I really can. I can see him getting a submission, but probably more than likely a decision. I don't see him knocking him out. Michael Chandler's been, I feel like you could hit that dude in the head with a sledgehammer and he'd probably just laugh at you and say some stupid motivational comment. I don't think he's going to get chinned by somebody like Paddy Pimblett if Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier couldn't chin him. So I'm going to go with Paddy Pimblett to win this one. I think he can get the submission, but more than likely this will be a decision. Do I think Michael Chandler can knock out Paddy Pimblett? I think he can catch him. I think he can catch him with a punch, the same way that he caught Gaethje, hurt Dustin Poirier, hurt Charles Oliveira. He's hurt all these guys, but it's just like he can't finish them. He goes in and does little rabbit punches or something like that, but he's not choking people out. He's got to finish you on the ground once he drops you, and he just hasn't really shown an ability to do that other than Dan Hooker in his debut, who again took it on short notice. Being 3 rounds, I feel like that benefits Michael Chandler because he's one of those guys, he's just going to goon his way through, throwing big hooks, shooting big takedowns, looking to be impressive and fun versus cerebral and strategic. And the fact that he doesn't have to do that for 5 rounds really serves him well. He's always got good cardio, always comes in great shape. But at some point in his career, he's got to start on the decline. And he's been taking a lot of punishment his last fights. Hasn't looked the best. The dude's always cut open in his fights, and just like he's always in these long drawn out wars. And it's like at 38 years old, how many of those can you go through? Because every fight that he's in, minus maybe the Tony Ferguson one, even though he was hurt, have just been barn burners, where he's just taken to the edge every time. And even before that in Bellator, going to crazy fights with Pitbull, Eddie Alvarez. So it's not just the UFC that he's had these wars and taken a lot of damage. And just the things that come out of his mouth, you gotta assume he's got early onset CTE. Like, let's be honest, the dumb things that come out of that dude's mouth. So I'm gonna go with Paddy Pimblett to get this one done. I don't know what the odds are. Tapology's not giving me the odds lately. So Paddy Pimblett's a -155 favorite, which makes sense. I can see him being a small favorite, just given his ability and the fact that Michael Chandler, I guess he fought back in November. He fought sooner than Paddy Pimblett did, who fought Bobby Green back in July. He went to 5 rounds, went to war with Charles Oliveira back in November. So it's like he's 38. He knows that he can't, take this time off and fully recover. He's got to, hop back in there quick if he wants to put on another entertaining fight and make money before his career ends. But speaking of career ends, I know he's entertaining, but how much longer do you keep him in the UFC and pay him these huge paydays? He's 1-4 in the last 4 years. It's like, at what point do we stop giving him these high profile fights? But I gotta go Paddy Pimblett. 8-fight winning streak, younger guy, finishing potential on the feet, on the ground. Everything that Michael Chandler does well, he can do just as well or better, or have the ability to nullify. Tons of momentum, decent amount of rest. Fought last summer, full camp, taking on Michael Chandler, who again, not looked the best as of late, getting up there in age, taking a lot of beatings in his career, taking a lot of beatings recently in the UFC. Can be hurt, can be choked out, can be outworked positionally. I just feel like the upside for Paddy Pimblett in this fight is much higher than the upside for Michael Chandler. So I'm gonna have to go with Paddy Pimblett. I think he gets the submission within the distance. If not, gets a unanimous decision. Maybe drops around to Mike Chandler. He hurts him, lands better punches, gets some takedowns, gets some control time. But I think Paddy Pimblett gets this one done. Thanks.